Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at a couple of games here on Thursday night for you guys. We are going to be switching up the format here a little bit as we move forward. We are going to be talking about the Pelicans in Denver in this one, but we're just going to jump right into these games with you guys. We are going to start bringing up a few more graphics on screen, so it's a little bit more clear what exactly we're talking about, which picks we are making as we talk about these games with some pretty in-depth analysis. We're also going to be talking a little bit more about how we did on the previous day's picks for you guys, so you can see and track a little, follow along with us how we are doing as well, and obviously continue to bring you all these player props as well. So continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page. As I said, we are going to be talking about the Pelicans in Denver in this one, but first I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we did yesterday. We did go 5 for 6. The only pick we missed was Marvin Bagley's prop there. Nate, 24.5 points and rebounds went under. We hit Phoenix -5, the Grizzlies Clips over in that game, LeBron over on his points, Drew well over on his points 11 minutes into that game with a career high 51. And then Chris Paul's points and assists, thanks to his 19 points, we got over the 21.5 points and assists there. So a pretty good day in that one. As I said, we also have the Bucks and Celtics up for you guys in a different video. But let's go ahead, Nate, and jump right into the Pelicans and the Nuggets and some of the lines that we have in this one.
Yeah, I like Pelicans to cover here. I think it opened larger than this, but it's plus 6.5 at this point. And it's certainly a desperation factor that the Nuggets don't have, right? I mean, they're talking about Joker being questionable with the calf, and it's a back-to-back situation for him. So he might sit this one, he might sit the next one. That's obviously massive news, and that would certainly help if you're taking the Pelicans to cover here. But I think they can cover even if Jokic is out there. I like what Jonas Valanciunas has been doing lately. I know he got kind of run off the floor by the Warriors, the small ball Warriors, and that's going to be a hit. But I mean, if Jokic is out there, that means he gets to play. And he's been a huge part of their offense lately. The Pels, who, granted, they played some pretty bad competition in 5 games before that Golden State game, but up to 121 offensive rating, hitting 13 threes at 45% almost, which is huge for a team that has struggled from downtown all year. Trey Murphy coming on strong, and 30 assists to 14 turnovers. A really balanced scoring effort at times. Also have a guy in Ingram who can just get his own shot. Am concerned about CJ McCollum's hand injury at this point. I mean, he's been cold in his last 7. His usage rate has absolutely dropped below where Valanciunas is. So that's why I think it's fine to look at Jonas's props, and it's fine if Jokic is playing, and we'll see what the big Lithuanian can do against the big Serbian. But looking at the Pels, I mean, I'm really impressed with what they did in Golden State, and which is to say they got up by 20 in a game that mattered a ton for both teams. In a game where Draymond was trying to, light a fire, like test the young guys and see if they were really about that kind of playoff mentality. And they did respond. It's just that then Steph said, "All right, give me the ball. I'm just gonna light fires all over this defense," as he always does. And it didn't matter that the Pels are the number 1 3-point defense because he's just hitting absurd shots, and the avalanche starts. But now you got a little bit more desperation. You got a team that really needs to move above 500 here in an incredibly tight race in the Western Conference, and then the Nuggets are like 5 games ahead for the 1 seed, have no real motivation to try to close this one out. It's another situation where, like the Celtics, I'm not buying that they got right just because they won 4 in a row against some bad teams, or some of them bad teams. They got the Bucks on a back-to-back. That was impressive, sure. But they dropped 5 out of 6, and including at home against physical, low-scoring teams like the Bulls and the Raptors. And that's what the Pelicans are at this point, but now playing a little bit of better offense and showing the ability to hang with the top teams in the West, at least, hanging with Golden State, wound up not covering. But I don't think, I think that's more of a Steph anomaly than anything.
Yeah, I love the play-in tournament, Nate. It's making the games much more fun. it's just making them so hard to pick because that is sort of the biggest factor in tonight's game and picking the Pelicans to cover 6.5, which I agree. And I really, didn't hit it early enough, to be honest with you. I was pretty tired last night. And by the time I was really looking at these lines, I was ready for sleep and didn't feel confident enough to just hit the Pellies at like 9.5, but probably should have. It's already been bet down, mostly because I think you're just kind of like, let's just get ahead of Joker not playing. It's also the care factor there about the MVP award. Like, how much does he? I don't know how to take that into consideration when everything that I read about this team is he doesn't care. He's over it because he doesn't like the sort of volatility and hostility that was created around the conversation of MVP. And he wasn't a fan of that. So all of it is just sort of a turnoff for him. He doesn't even accept the award in the States. He just goes home so he can ride horses and receives the award there with his family, which is awesome. So my main point is it's just really difficult to predict. So fun for fans, not as fun for bettors when you're talking about everybody's either, being in this a little bit, right? So still having like 13 or at this point 11 teams in the West, but that does just make it even more so, so that a team like the Pelicans is going to come out and do what they can. In that Dubs game, they were winning, right? They were up by 20 points in the first half. The Dubs outscored them by 28 in the second half and ended up winning by 19. So that 19-point loss is just not exactly what happened. It was just basically like 7.5 minutes of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and even Jordan Poole being unconscious. So that's not necessarily going to be the case in this one. And I really, for the second bet here, I'm really looking at the total, and I'm just going to be staying on what happens with Joker. If Joker's in this 227.5, you got to get on it immediately. You got to hit it as soon as you can. In terms of the over, in my opinion, like this team's going to score 122 if Joker's on the floor for them in that building. If he's not, if you look at what they do without him, we're looking at about 105.5 points per game for this Nuggets team against a Pellies team that is really good at defense and did limit the Warriors to like 48 points in the first half. And then they just didn't keep playing defense. And the Dubs end up with 130 by scoring like whatever, close to 90 points in the second half. So that also was a little bit of fatigue. There are not three-point shooters with the equivalency of 3-point capabilities of Poole, Klay, and Steph, who all just vibe off each other at that point. Once it was just like a barrage, a compounding barrage of threes because they're all feeling off of each other's hot shooting stats last game. But as far as this one, like that's not going to be the case for the Nuggets. If Joker plays, there's still the possibility that he doesn't care quite as much. In which case, maybe you're looking a little bit more at a guy like Jamal Murray, who I think we'll talk about in player props video as well. Just because of the fact that the Pelicans, this is a position you can get some points on. Jose Grand Theft Alvarado is not going to be in there, and he dropped 38 on them in that other game, right? And no Zion as well, which also leads to fewer points for a good defensive team. So the total, I wish I could just say do this, do that, but for me, it's really just I'm looking at it. If Joker's in, I'm going to go ahead and hit it before it goes back up. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of talking myself, Nate, and tell me what you think. Like I'm kind of talking myself into the fact that if Joker does come back in this game and all of a sudden this total just starts rising to like 231, 232.5, but we don't necessarily think Joker cares about this game too much, is that maybe the potential time to zag and take an under at that point?
Yeah, I'm leaning under in most Pelicans games at this point. I think, I would worry about it if Jokic is going to play. I think there's a good chance he does sit, though. With the back-to-back against the Suns and then Sunday game against the Warriors, so those are definitely bigger games to have him out there for. And the care factor might not be as much tonight. If you can get it now at a higher total and take the under, one thing you can do is FanDuel, the money line and total parlay, it doesn't move. So it's 231.5 still for the Pelicans to win and to go under at plus 390. So that's probably where I would lean here and just then hope you get that notice that Jokic is going to sit tonight. And then, I wouldn't put it past the Pels to be able to win this game, even if he plays. Like I said, I'm very impressed with how they played in Golden State, and any team can lose at home at the Chase Center if Steph Curry goes off. But this is closer to that feisty Pelicans team we saw at the end of last season, where they will jump up and bite really good teams, especially if they don't have their focus and they don't have the motivation like the Nuggets probably don't tonight. So that's where I'm leaning, is the Pelicans to win or cover in a lower scoring game.
Yeah, and it's still going down as we're talking. Right as we started this video, it was 227.5. It's 226.5 right now, with good odds on the under, obviously, because it's still getting lower and lower. But we'll see what happens where that total goes and how the Joker news impacts this game. I wish it was as easy as saying just wait for the news, but like it could be 15 minutes before game time and we still don't know. In which case, like you don't always have to make every single bet. And either way, especially if Joker's not in 6.5, great number there for the Pels, who really need this game as we talk about as we're coming down to the wire here in the standings. And I believe they're 9th in the West, and they'd love to rise a little bit higher, and that's very much available to them as the Timberwolves are only half a game ahead of them in 7th, and the 6th place team is only 1.5 games ahead of them as well. So that is all the time we have for you, though, in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Check out the other couple videos we have, including those player props up. And until we see you next, happy betting.